I started my cybersecurity career in the closet. That was intentional too. Literally in the closet. A small room with a desk, a safe, and a flickering light. I spent most of the day by myself in that room, working for a large government contractor. This was a secure room used for projects that required a security clearance. To access this room, I had to go into the basement of a large office building, apply the correct combination to the safe, badge into the door, and then to work, I had to apply another combination to the safe, take the laptop out, and then get set up for the day. There was no internet access allowed in that room, no electronic devices. From time to time, a project manager would pop in to see how I was doing, making sure I was following security protocol. That meant no door propping and no leaving the laptops unattended. Can you imagine coding without the internet? I mean, what do you do if you get an error message? Or if you have to pee? I mean, if I have to do either of these, I have to shut down the laptops, put the laptops in the safe, apply the spin the lock on the safe, close the door to the room, spin the lock on the room, and then walk clear to the other side of the building. So, needless to say, I spent most of the day dehydrated, avoiding water at all costs for the sake of productivity. So, I absolutely hated it. If I had just spent some amount of time really interviewing that company, I would never have been in that closet. The only good thing about it was to be able to say, I started my cybersecurity career in a closet while being in the closet. So building your career is tough enough. So today, I'm going to tell you about how I shifted my office view from the closet to the boardroom. Today, I lead the cybersecurity division for On Deck. We're a publicly traded fintech company. We're the largest online lender to small businesses, having delivered over $5 billion in loans over 7 years. And in walking that path from the closet to the boardroom, there were a few important lessons I learned along the way. And the first of those was I learned to interview the company while they were interviewing me. You have a short amount of time during a job interview to figure out if you're a good fit for the company and if that job is a good fit for you. It's not enough to take a job just because the numbers are right, the title is sexy, or the firm just made the cover of Fast Company. Early in my career, I had interviewed with a company that combined two of my passions, cybersecurity and building great software products. And as I interviewed each of the department leaders and toured their offices, there was something that just didn't quite sit right with me. And the majority of the staff, they didn't look like me, and the only woman I met was in human resources. I bridge 3 diversity areas. I'm a woman, I'm Asian, and I'm gay. They can only see 2 of these. So I became increasingly worried that we wouldn't be a good fit for each other because I knew I was going to get an offer. So I began the process to interview the company. So here's how I did it. When I met with the president of the company, and he asked me if I had any questions, I said, "Do you offer domestic partnership benefits?" And I got a blank stare, so I clarified. As in the Human Rights Campaign Equality Index? Another blank stare. So I asked bluntly, as in gay marriage? I watched his facial expressions very carefully, and I saw slightly widened eyes and flared nostrils. Those are not good body language signs. So he referred me to the woman in human resources and wrapped up the interview. She later clarified they don't offer domestic partnership benefits because they're looking to save money. Unless you're polygamous, I'm not sure how that saves any money. So the issue for me wasn't about whether they offered domestic partnership benefits. This was a litmus test of their culture, and we didn't pass each other's tests. So what's important is that you go into an interview with a list of questions that you really care about and not just the ones you think sound good. So the second lesson I learned was to never waste a good crisis, because bad things happen, sometimes really bad things, and a crisis can make or break your reputation and your career. Not even 30 days into my new job as head of security at another company, we had a security crisis. A list of serious security vulnerabilities was published on the internet, and it affected many of our customers. We were getting hit on all sides. Reporters were calling for comments. Angry customers were asking for us to fix the issues, and people were scrambling internally to figure out how to fix the issues. I remember that day walking into my office, closing the door, and then putting my forehead on the desk. So for the next 12 hours and into the night, I built a very detailed and comprehensive action plan. I presented it to company executives the next morning, and at the end of that meeting, one of them pulled me aside to say how impressed she was at how great the plan was, how calm I was, and how new I was to the company. Little did she know, I was so terrified. I was devoid of emotion. So this crisis made my reputation there and career for two reasons. One, people found out who I was fast and how I would act during a crisis. And two, it made it a whole lot easier to get the budget we needed to build security into the product line. So the third lesson I learned was to use grit to fuel my plans. I have a huge passion for triathlon. This is a picture of a triathlon in the mountains of Maryland. A few years ago, I came across an article that said this is one of the toughest triathlons in the world, and that's when I knew I wanted to do it. It's known for being incredibly steep, with the cycling portion known as the Western Port Wall, pictured here, standing at 31% grade. It's so steep that when you bike up it, your front wheel starts to lift up off the ground, you lose traction, and most people fall over. But if you make it to the top, you don't fall, you don't stop, you finish the race within the allotted amount of time, they will lay an engraved brick with your name on it into the road. Now, grit, that is the combination of passion and perseverance in pursuit of a goal. Pushing myself in triathlon helps me train my grit. Hundreds of hours were spent preparing for this race, and I practiced that Western Port Wall multiple times until I could figure out how to get up it, because it takes more than just strength. It takes balance and strategy. And in doing so, by practice, I mean I fell repeatedly like the others in this video. My scars may have faded, but my bike still wears them with pride. Early in my career, if you remember, early, in that real closet, I had a stumble. I was fired from that project. Ironically, for a security protocol violation. You know I'm in cybersecurity, right? And I dusted myself off. It woke me up, and it became the best thing that ever happened to me. Because behind the promotions, the successes, is a whole lot of failure. Whoop. And 7 hours and 7,500 feet of climbing later, I got my brick. Thanks. That's better than a tombstone. So, managing a crisis, leading a division, leading a team, yes, it makes me uncomfortable, but I know there is no comfort in growth. You can never stop teaching, you can never stop learning, and you can never stop making mistakes. Because if you haven't fallen hard, you haven't been trying hard enough. Because when you get there and you earn your brick, whenever you feel overwhelmed, you can always look back on it and know that you haven't reached your limit yet. Thank you. Just going to do one quick shout out, unscripted. My mom is visiting me in New York. Give a wave. She's right there. Thank you, everyone.